There was a big debate last night between Ron DeSantis and Charlie Crist. It got very heated. But DeSantis right now in the polls is absolutely clocking Charlie Crist. This was a purple state. Ron DeSantis beat Andrew Gillum, an alleged gay meth addict who was now under indictment by the DOJ for corruption. He beat him by 30,000 votes, like 30,000 in a very large state, Florida. He is now leading in the polls, according to Real Clear Politics polling averages, by 10 points. The latest polls, and it's two separate ones, Mason-Dixon and Florida Atlantic University, have DeSantis up 11. The reason for that is specifically because he did not shut down the state. It's because he reopened the state fast. He attempted to make sure that people didn't lose their businesses. How bad is this for Democrats? It's so bad that Charlie Crist has to just lie about it. He actually tweeted out last week, quote, Governor DeSantis is the only governor in Florida history to shut down the schools and lock down businesses, which is just unbelievable gaslighting. I mean, he was at the beginning of the pandemic when everyone did. Would that be what you're talking about? Because Ron DeSantis is actually quite famous for reopening the state of Florida. The media made him their bugaboo. He was the worst. Andrew Cuomo was the hero. Andrew Cuomo was here to do three things: kill elderly people, grab ass, and shut down the economy. And he achieved all three of those things before he was booted from office. Ron DeSantis actually didn't do any of those things. He didn't shut down the economy. He didn't grab ass. He didn't kill all the seniors in Florida. And Ron DeSantis is now a wildly popular governor of what used to be a purple state, but is now pretty obviously a significantly red state. You know what changed that? What changed that was Ron DeSantis' COVID response. If you look at his approval ratings, it was his COVID response that really launched him into the stratosphere, politically speaking. Here's Ron DeSantis' debate last night talking about it.
You mentioned, Liz, that people are flocking to Florida. That would not have happened if Charlie Crist had his way. He wrote me a letter in July of 2020 saying you need to shut down the state of Florida. He said you need to force people to shelter in their own homes. That would have destroyed the state of Florida. That would have caused our tourism industry to go into the toilet. It would have locked out millions of kids from school. I rejected Charlie Crist's lockdown letter. I kept this state open, and I kept this state free.
Okay, that is DeSantis' big claim to fame. It also happens to be the reason why Ron DeSantis is now winning a majority of Hispanic voters in the state of Florida. And you want to talk about stats that just scare the living hell out of Democrats? When Republicans start winning a majority of Hispanic voters, they got a real problem. We'll get to more on that in just 1 second. First, in the spirit of spooky season, I have something really scary to tell you about. Meat recalls. Ooh. There's so much uncertainty that comes with buying store-bought meat. You hear about alerts and recalls every day. Recently, 44 tons of meat products were actually recalled from retailers in Illinois, Kentucky, and Missouri for listeria. Trade in that spooky store-bought meat for 100% American meat from Good Ranchers. Good Ranchers only sources the highest quality meat. Grass-fed, grain-finished, their steak is aged 21 days, so every bite is tender and delicious. They're better than organic chicken, does not have any added hormones or antibiotics. Their seafood is caught fresh and then flash frozen and vacuum sealed to lock in the quality until you're ready to eat it. Unlike the grocery store, Good Ranchers has never had to do a recall. They have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. We're talking no costumes, no gimmicks, because with Good Ranchers, you actually know where your meat is coming from. You know, they made me a kosher steak, and I gotta tell you, one of the best steaks I have ever had in my entire life. Right now, Good Ranchers is throwing a huge October feast where you can get up to 4 pounds of free meat. When you go to goodranchers.com/Ben, use code Ben at checkout. My code Ben will get you 2 pounds of better than organic chicken with any order. Get an extra 2 pounds of ground Wagyu beef on orders over $300. Go to goodranchers.com/Ben, use code Ben at checkout. That's goodranchers.com/Ben. Use code Ben at checkout. Claim your special October feast offer. According to floridapolitics.com, DeSantis now leads Charlie Crist 51-44 among Hispanics. That's a Telemundo poll. Okay, by 7 points. That's not even a slight majority. That's a significant majority. Those poll results flipped fortunes from just 4 years ago for Republicans among Hispanics, according to CNN exit polling from 2018. Andrew Gillum took 54% of the Latino vote against DeSantis' 44% of the vote that year. DeSantis' strength comes largely from those with Cuban backgrounds who hate communism and therefore don't like what the Democrats are pitching. Crist leads other Hispanics by a fairly wide margin. But DeSantis has the support of 56% of Hispanics who were born in another country and 48% of Hispanics born in the United States. Among Hispanic independents, DeSantis enjoys a 56-34 lead. The reason for all of this, the reason DeSantis is running away with this race is, again, because he had his own experts that he went to when it came to whether to shut down the state or whether to mandate vaccines or whether to forcibly mask children. This is the reason he's doing so well. MSNBC is freaking out about this, as well they should be. Here's MSNBC highlighting that poll result for Ron DeSantis yesterday.
No, meanwhile, there's brand new polling from likely Hispanic voters in Florida, which shows Ron DeSantis with a solid advantage there. What does it tell us?
Well, it tells us that he has buy-in, and it confirms a lot of the Republican claims that Hispanic voters are trending further and further to the right in Florida. Now, it's important to point out that a Hispanic voter in Florida is significantly different than a Hispanic voter in other parts of the Sun Belt. But Republicans clearly are effective at messaging to these groups of Hispanic voters in Florida. Right now, DeSantis a 7-point lead over Charlie Crist for this upcoming race. But what's maybe even more telling is his 56% overall approval with likely Hispanic voters in Florida. That tells us that even some Charlie Crist voters support what the governor is doing.
Okay, which means that they probably will end up voting for DeSantis. So Charlie Crist is about to get absolutely whomped in Florida. Again, that state has turned red because Ron DeSantis didn't listen to the Democrats on all of this sort of stuff. By the way, the same is true on all of the supposed policies that are supposed to make him unpopular. The media is very, very angry at Ron DeSantis, for example, for cutting down on the indoctrination of children in schools. They've decided this is their top priority. Ron DeSantis, at the debate last night, the governor of Florida, he ripped into woke history. This happens to be a popular perspective among, wait for it, Hispanics.
But what I think is not good is to scapegoat students based on skin color. It's not good to distort American history by saying that the American Revolution was fought to defend slavery, which is not true. I think we should have a history like Abraham Lincoln believed in our founding, like Frederick Douglass. These are great eternal principles. We've got a great Constitution, and people have used those principles to make great progress over the course of our country's history. I'm proud of our history. I don't want to teach kids to hate our country. I don't want to teach kids to hate each other. And the way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race.
Okay, this stuff has made DeSantis very, very popular. The most viral line of the night was when Ron DeSantis went after Charlie Crist pretty directly and called him an old donkey, which, I mean, I got nothing on that because fact check, kind of true.
Ron, you talk about Joe Biden a lot. I understand. You think you're going to be running against him. I can see how you might get confused. But you're running for governor. You're running for governor. And I have a question for you. You're running for governor. Why don't you look in the eyes of the people of the state of Florida and say to them, if you're reelected, you will serve a full 4-year term as governor? Yes or no? Yes or no, Ron? Will you serve a full 4-year term if you're reelected governor of Florida? It's not a tough question. It's a fair question. He won't tell you.
We did not agree on the candidates asking each other questions. Governor, it's your turn.
Well, listen, I know that Charlie's interested in talking about 2024 and Joe Biden, but I just want to make things very, very clear. The only worn-out old donkey I'm looking to put out to pasture is Charlie Crist.
So the reason that DeSantis didn't answer the question is because Crist broke the rules of the debate. The rules of the debate were the candidates were not allowed to ask each other direct questions, and Crist violated all of that. Okay, so leading up to the midterms, there's a lot of anger out there. And a lot of the anger is being driven by the bad policy and the lies that we've been told for the past several years by the media, by Democrats, by the expert. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it. We will be getting into Ted Cruz's appearance on The View with Ted Cruz. Plus, Dr. Marty Makary of Johns Hopkins University will be joining us to talk about everything COVID vax related, including whether the vax ought to be given to children. If you're not a member, click the link in the description and join us.